let's
That's a
get
good start.
started.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So, Georgia, I'm not sure
Hello.
if you were watching that video. Before I talk to you about your very interesting life, a quick mention. So, everyone else, you've watched a video just now about Room to Read. We are doing all of this for Room to Read. Okay, this whole event is for Room to Read. We're not affiliated with them, but we care about reading. Obviously, we've made a whole entire event around books. So if you could only see the work that goes into this, you would know how much we love books and literacy. It is incredibly important. Um, or at least I grew up very privileged. I went to really good schools. I had access to books and so on. Not everyone has that. Okay. So Room to Read is working to improve access to books, increase literacy around the world. And also for the older children, they're targeting young women because it is often girls that get shifted out of school to take care of relatives, to take care of the home, or for a myriad of other reasons. So if you can, recommend going onto our website. We have a page on Room to Read. Okay. There you can learn a bit more about Room to Read. And you can also donate if you can, right? If you have a little bit of spare change, I know that's really hard right now in pandemic, post major lockdowns, fingers crossed, at least here in the UK. If you do happen to have any spare change, please consider donating to Room to Read so that they can keep doing the amazing work that they do to improve access to education, improve access to books, and just making reading fun. If you've been watching the Queens of Camp videos from last year and this year, those are all Room to Read books written and illustrated for Room to Read. Okay, so now on to Georgia. Georgia, do you want to give us
Hello.
a little bit of an introduction? What's your elevator speech, shall we say?
Oh gosh, I haven't rehearsed that.
Well, okay, so we're in the elevator or the lift, closing the doors, and I say, "Hi,
Right.
who
Hello.
are you? What'd you do?"
Well, I guess I'm here with two hats on really because I am a librarian, but also I'm an author. So I have love for books for all sorts of reasons, which I think we're going to be talking a little bit about today, and about my reading journey and my journey into becoming a librarian and becoming an author too.
Yeah. Okay, so starting with, actually, let's go back. Let's start from the beginning. Were you always a fan of books? Were you always a fan of reading?
For as long as I can remember, I was, and I have got a little pile of books here for you, which I thought I might take you on a little reading journey.
Yes,
But it's not a very
please.
big pile of books because even though we were reading family and had lots of books around, we used to use the library a lot. So we got loads and loads and loads of books from the library. So when I look back on my bookshelves, they're actually quite small compared to other people's, I think, because my mum was just always taking us to the library. So I've got a little small pile here. Shall I talk you through it? Would
Yes,
that be a good
please.
start? So
Yeah.
my mum was an English teacher, so I was super lucky that she knew how important reading and books and stories were. So from a really early age, as I said, as young as I can remember, I've been surrounded by books and in libraries. And one book that I remember looking at before I could read was a picture book to me, but it's a graphic novel of Macbeth that was on my mum's shelves,
Oh, wow.
and I was obsessed this book. I took this book into my school to show. They must have been horrified because I was about 6. And I took it into show and tell. because I just thought it was the most amazing book. In particular, I'll show you my favourite page. This page is Macbeth. There we go. That was my favourite page. And I used to look at this book. I used to sit and look at it over and over and over again. I know. And I mean, this will tell you a lot about me as a person and as a writer. So this was the first book that I really remember looking at a lot. And I mean, it was kind of a picture book, really. As I said, it was before I could read properly. So there was that. And that was on, I've obviously still got it. So, but, you know, looking at it now, it brings back memories. And there's the wonderful witches on the back.
Oh, wow.
There we go.
Is now a good time for me to admit that because I moved around a bit in my life, and I changed schools a few times, I missed Macbeth in my education. So I haven't read Macbeth or Othello. I think I stick mostly to the comedies, though.
Well, I recommend you getting a hold of this copy, an edition of this, and having a read, because it's a very accessible introduction to Macbeth, in my personal opinion. But as I said, I was just really more into the pictures. So yeah, this was one of my favourite books from early on. And then when I did start reading, this is what I got into, The Worst Witch. So I'm sure lots of people will be familiar with this. This is my original copy from when I was at school. And I could relate to Mildred Hubble so much, because she was just always doing things wrong. She was kind of average, you know, could never get it right. So, and I can't tell you how many times I read this book. This was my very own copy. As I said, I got it from the school book club. But when my mum kind of picked up on the fact that I enjoyed it, we went to the library and we got the rest of the series. So I would read the series and carry on, you know, finding out about Matilda's adventures. So again, this is a very important book in my reading and writing journey. So have you read The Worst Witch?
No.
Are you familiar with her? No.
No.
I think
feel like so bad now.
put you on the spot, sorry. It's really good fun.
Is it,
and I think
is it a British book?
It is, yeah. Jill Murphy is British, but they did an amazing film in the 80s with Firuza Balk in it as playing Matilda.
I think I read or I watched the movie. I have memories of it.
Yeah, and Tim Curry was in it as well, playing the Grand High Wizard. So anyway, so that was next.
Wow.
And then I graduated to Point Horrors. So these are still quite popular. I know lots of people remember these from when they were younger, and I've just picked this one. I don't again, I don't have many of these. I've been collecting them recently, but I got them all from the library. I got them out by the bucket load. I used to go up on the mobile library and just borrow 10 of them at a time. And this one, Teacher's Pet, is about a writer. So going on a writer's retreat and then terrible things start happening to her. It features the most amazing kissing scene where one of the people has their leg trapped in a bear trap. So it's worth reading just for that.
I don't understand. I'm sorry. I don't understand why. What? It's like in movies when, you know, all of these things are happening and then there has to be like a moment, like a tender moment where there's like a kiss or something. Surely, like, I'm trying to imagine my leg trapped in a trap, right? And having the facial control, like the muscle control in my face to kiss someone. I feel like my face would be distorted. Okay, so clearly I need to read this so that I could just maybe a little bit understand how you would end up kissing someone in that situation.
It's well worth it just for that scene. Honestly, it's quite the eye opener. Sorry, just lost you. Yes. So anyway, yes, Point Horror, that was next, and then right, I need to do a trigger warning for people who are scared of clowns. So avert your eyes, people who are scared of clowns. This was my next. So this is, and as you can see, it's rather battered.
No.
I'll move it so you can't see it now. But my mum bought me that from a secondhand bookshop, so it's probably cursed. But I then got really into
That's
Stephen
terrifying.
King and just, read everything he wrote. I kind of started with the early stuff, which was good, but through all those books, with like Matilda and the Worst Witch and The Point Horror and like that awful picture at the end of Macbeth, and then Stephen King, it just kind of shaped me as a reader and as a writer, because I am actually quite a scaredy cat. Um,
Same.
but yeah, but I don't love it so much now because I think it's not as enjoyable when you've had children reading horror and things. But I used to just absolutely love being terrified, but I could do it from the comfort of my own home. And I think that's obviously one of the appeals of reading, that you can have these experiences. Not everybody likes reading horror, not everybody likes reading about murder and killer clowns. I don't blame them. But that's why it was such an important thing to me. And this is what all came together, and I ended up writing this book, which is about a witch, and it has
Love that
murder
cover.
and dark magic and all sorts of things. So all of those books that I still have and I remember reading, they all came together and shaped this book. So on top of
Uh,
that, I also, when I got to the age of deciding what to do at uni, it was my mum. We were having a conversation. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was pretty average at everything, but I was spending a lot of time in the library. I was spending a lot of time around books. And she said to me, "Why don't you become a librarian?" And it all fell into place. So that's kind of how I ended up in the professional role I have, but also the role as writer as well. So
okay. That's amazing. Also, love that cover. Love so I am a
thank
scaredy cat.
you.
I usually stay away from scary books, but I do like witches. For those of you watching who've seen the schedule, you'll know that I am doing a session on witchy words tomorrow with our other counselor, Lulu. Um, I love witchy things, so yeah, I think I can forego my fears and read that book, especially with that cover. It's going to look stunning on my bookshelf. I'm going to tell you that straight
Thank
away.
you. Um,
Um,
I
okay.
I hope you do, and hopefully you'll enjoy it, because it does have its moments where it's a bit creepy. But my editor made me scale back a lot of the real true horror, so I think it's
Oh,
kind
okay.
of it's just an enjoyable read for Halloween, for this time of year, and it's set at Halloween in the autumn. So yeah, hopefully
Okay.
you can kind of curl up with a blanket, I think, and something warm, and enjoy it that way. Um, yeah, it's not too
I,
scary. I don't think so
I'm
anyway.
imagining. So I am right now in my. It's kind of like an attic office, and at night I only have the lights above me. Right. I can only imagine come Halloween being curled up. I have a beanbag in the corner here, but I have these weird
Perfect.
like under like these little cupboard things, and sometimes they make these noises. So I feel like that would be a
Mhm.
great, yeah, like you can get into the roof basically from
Oh,
these little
cool.
doors. I feel like that'll be a great ambiance to read this book in. Um
Yes, I agree. I agree.
So let's talk a little bit about being a librarian, because you have an important role in, um, you know, introducing people and encouraging people to read. So first of all, how how did you become a librarian? What was the sort of road that you took? How did you even conceive the idea of being a librarian?
Well, I didn't know that much about it until my mum mentioned it, and then I went. I mean, this is a long, long time ago. I went into the school library, obviously, and went to the career section and looked up how do you become a librarian. And I was really surprised to see that you could do a degree in it. You can get a master's in librarian studies or librarianship or what have you. So that's what I did. I applied to various universities and I ended up going to Loughborough University. And that's where I got my degree in information and library studies. And then when I got my first professional role, that's when I did my chartership. So it was just kind of an extra qualification
Oh, wow.
on top of my degree. Yeah. But I think now lots of people work in libraries, and I think you can get into it through lots of different routes. But that was the route I wanted to take. And then I've been in libraries for 20 years now, and I've learned so much since being at university. And I have tended to work in adult stock usually, but just recently I've started working with children more, and I've been obviously taking interest in children's titles and young adult, obviously because of my own interests. So yeah, I mean it's such a great job, and I'm really lucky. If people say to me, "What would you do if you weren't a librarian?" And I'm like, I'm kind of in my dream job. I'm really lucky that
Yeah,
this is what I do, and I'm involved in so many different things. We've got the summer reading challenge going on at the moment
I
in
love that.
libraries. Oh, I know, it's so much fun, and it's just a brilliant way of getting children to read over the summer. And parents, I know they worry that they get out of the habit over the summer, so this is a really good way of kind of, it's like little incentives to get them back, into the library and borrowing books and reading. So yeah, I love it, and I've like done all sorts of things and organized author visits and book festivals and things like that. So I get to do a bit of everything. It really is a good job. And as you say, you get to work with people, introducing people to books, and um, there's nothing more rewarding really. And in my book, in the acknowledgements, I mention public libraries and just say how important they are, because they shape me as a reader, but also, libraries are like little communities to people, public libraries in particular. And, we're very lucky to have a public library system that's free.
Yeah.
And I know lots of in other parts of the world they do as well. Some services I think charge to join, but generally to the first thing is giving people access to books for free and information for free, but also to people who are looking for somewhere to belong and somewhere to go, and to be part of a little community. And there's all sorts of statistics and things and studies that have been done into reading and into library use. And one of the things that they've shown is that people who use libraries are generally happier and healthier. They have, and an increased awareness of their mental health and managing their mental health and that sort of thing. So it just has so many benefits, as well as going in and just having masses of like free books available to you. You have all of this other stuff that it benefits as well. So one of the other stats is like in terms of children, reading for pleasure is more important for cognitive development than what a parent did, how
Yeah.
they were educated, what the parents' experiences were, and more powerful for life achievements than a socioeconomic background. So it just opens up all these opportunities and provides all of these amazing life, skills and things. So it's just, yeah, it's an amazing thing, a library service and reading.
Yeah. I completely agree. I mean, I use my library here in uh London area. I love the library. I also love that thanks to technology, even during the pandemic with the library closed, there was still a way to
Yeah,
access books.
I know, it's
There's free
amazing.
online resources. And libraries,
Yeah,
what blows my mind is like libraries, you don't just go to libraries for books. There are so many other services that libraries offer, right?
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
and you can like look up your ancestry. Um, my mind is going blank. There's like
Well,
Overdrive
I
for
mean, it's from birth right through to the later stages of life, because they have baby rhyme times and things like that. And if you've just had a baby and you're feeling quite lonely, because that can happen, go into the library, it's a non-judgmental space, it's open to all, it's free. There might be other parents there that you can meet and introduce your baby to, future friends. And then
Yeah.
further down the line, you've got people coming in and they're reading the newspapers, and it's just, people, I think, especially during the pandemic, I think reading made people feel less lonely. And as you say, there were so many services on offer still when libraries were closed, all the digital services that we have, and you could still download a book or you could still listen to a book. And I know lots of libraries were operating a sort of click and collect service. So even though the library wasn't open, you could still go and pick up, a handful of books. And that is just such a lifeline for people. Because as I said, there's again another statistic. Reading a book will reduce your stress levels by up to 60%. And like more
Agreed.
than sitting down and having a cup of tea or going for a walk. So imagine if you sat down and read a book and had a cup of tea after you've been for a walk, your stress levels would just be like, hopefully you just feel yourself like, maybe you guys could do that after all this is over, just read a book, have a cup of tea and just feel your stress just, drifting away. But, going into a lot, I think the other thing from my personal experience is that people who work in libraries care, they just care about the customers and they care about books and reading and about that experience. And you're right, it's just an amazing service. And we see people coming in all the time and you can just see the enjoyment they're getting out of it. And whether they come in with like family member or they're just coming in by themselves, it's just such an important part of their life and their experience.
Yeah, it's amazing. I have a library near me. It's one of my favorite things about where I moved to, because I moved here a few months ago and I was like, I'm right around the corner from a library. I'm so excited. So, because we're going to wrap up soon, I have 2 questions to ask you. First question, what has been, or if you had to pick one memory, one memory from your time as a librarian, has there been one memory where you feel like you've made the most impact, like talking to a child or talking to another or a reader and blowing their mind or turning their life around?
Think there's been so many occasions where a child has come in and they've never been to the library before. This has happened more than once, and they've said, "Can I take this book?" And you say yes, and they say, "How much is it?" And you're like, "It's free," and they're just like, "It's free. It's free. I can have it, and
Amazing.
it's free." It's just so amazing to see that look on their face, when they realise that they have access to just shelves and shelves of books. It's just so wonderful. But I remember one time I was working in a library, this boy ran in, his parent had obviously like dropped him off and was going to find somewhere to park. He ran in, he was like, "Have you got the second in the trilogy of the Hunger Games?" And I was like, "Yes, it's here." And he was like, "They've got it." And he ran out. He ran out. I was like, come back. You have to join the library to borrow it. But he was just like, he was so happy. He'd read the first one and it obviously, had such an impact. And for whatever reason, he needed the second one from the library. And, I always think of that boy. It was such a lovely moment. So there's, a few moments there, but, they're kind of always the same. So.
Oh, that's so sweet though. Okay. Second question. Because this is a YA camp thing, right? Have you read any YA recently that has blown your mind?
Oh, all I read is YA really. And I love it, and that's why I wrote it. And that's why I'm so happy to be a part of this thing. But let me think. I've been reading a lot of witchy books recently, because obviously my book is witchy. And I didn't read witchy books when I was writing it because I thought I don't want to, start getting confused. And I read recently Hexed by Julia Tufts, and
Oh
that
yeah.
is about a witch, and it's a really interesting spin on, becoming a witch and finding out you're a witch, because her powers come in during her monthly cycle. So it's a brilliant feminist read. It's about friendship, and it's about standing up to the patriarchy and, you know, idiots that you deal with at school. It's so good, and I really enjoyed it, and I was really rooting for the girls at the end. It was fantastic, and like I said, such a good spin on witches, on the whole witch story. I never would have, you know, imagined to write something like that, so I really enjoyed that. Yeah, I've got
Awesome.
loads more, but I'll just stick with that one for now.
I mean, that sounds right up my street. I'm going to see if my local library has it.
Yes, and
Okay.
if they don't have it, you know, you can ask them to buy it. Most libraries operate that service. If they don't have it in stock, they'll buy it for you. Or tell them I said that they should buy
I'm gonna march down to my library and be like, you don't have this book? Look, I'm gonna show you a video and just gonna say you have to give me this book. Okay,
it.
Georgia, thank you so much for joining us. That was so
Oh,
interesting. You are doing an amazing job making sure people have access to books and get enjoyment from books, especially the summer reading challenge. I volunteered a few years
oh,
ago with my library. I love it. I love it so much.
it's
It's so cute.
brilliant. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's fantastic.
Um, where can people find you?
So I am on Twitter as Georgia Bowers, and I'm on Instagram as Georgia Bowers YA. It looks like Georgia Bowers Yar. And also I have a Facebook page, Georgia Bowers Author, so you can find me there. And some of those statistics that I was talking about, I got those from the Reading Agency, which is a fantastic organisation, and they operate the Summer Reading Challenge. So yes, join your local library, guys. It'll be the best thing you ever do.
Thank you so much.
Thank
If
you. That's lovely.
anyone has any questions for her, head over to Twitter. I'm sure she'll be happy to ask, especially that list of recommendations that I know you have at the back of your head. Anyway, thank you, Georgia, and everyone else sit tight because we are going to have your answers soon. So